Trauma. Everyone has it. No one talks about it. It seems easier to stay silent, ignore it, or stuff it than it does to honor it, learn from it, and finally heal. Trauma is debilitating, yet so often we suffer in silence. Trauma is not meant to be battled alone, and we are no longer going to suffer in silence. Together, we are creating a safe place to speak, to share our stories, and grow our strength as we heal. Together, we are giving a voice to those who have been silenced, bringing darkness into light, and letting God use our stories. Today, we find ourselves again. We relight our spark and let it light up the world. Stop SIS is a nonprofit organization dedicated to educating on issues of trauma and trafficking, as well as the amazing power of the healing journey. Welcome to Stop SIS. Hey, you guys. Welcome back to Stop Suffering in Silence. My name is Denise Walsh, and I am here with my friend Rachel Timothy. And today we're going to go over all of Rachel's updates. She has had a lot of stuff, cool stuff moving within her life, and we want to tell you all about it. So first, we're going to share with you a bit about some of the self-care things she's been up to. She has a new book that is just now releasing on Amazon. We're going to tell you all about it. And we've got an update on her justice situation with perpetrators in her past. And so stay till the end because we're going to give you details or updates on her justice situation and what she's learned in this process at the end of the podcast. So, Rachel, you have been busy.
Yes.
And so you did a few things this last week that might not necessarily seem like kind of big deals to some, but for you, they were big deals. And not only did you put them on your calendar, but you didn't cancel it. You went, you followed through. And let's hear a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just say that you're saying, you've been busy. This type of busy feels so much better than the busy of like a flashback, or like when I think back to where I was 2-3 years ago, when I was accomplishing nothing throughout the day, but simply surviving. That was a more exhausting busy than this.
Yeah.
Kind of
because when you're doing what you love, you're like in the zone, right? When you're doing it, time goes by fast. It actually gives you energy to work on your projects, to take care of yourself, to get your message out.
Yeah, like having a healthier mindset, I guess, is just, I've emptied a lot of brain space, unnecessary brain space that was weighing me down. And so, yeah, this last week or so, I scheduled a hair appointment. Yeah, so it sounds silly, but I hadn't had my hair done for over 2 years, really. Let me think. Maybe it was a year. I can't remember. Since right before I had some fun episode on some TV show was the last time that I had my hair.
That was 2 years.
That was 2 years ago. Okay. So, and the reason I hadn't is I just didn't see enough self-worth in myself, I guess. Like, there was many other things I could spend my money on that deemed more important. But through this healing journey, I have started to see, how you feel about yourself is important. And it's self-care and self-love. And not only am I showing myself that, but I'm teaching my kids it's important to care about yourself. Not in like a prideful way, but in a loving way. So I did. I made an appointment, and my husband was super proud of me because he's been pushing me to do it for a long time. And I remember this particular time was so different than times in the past, because most of the time when I would sit in that chair, I'd be telling myself, you aren't worth this. Like, look at these people around you. They are way better than you. You shouldn't even be here. Or I'd be stuck in the, what do I say? What do I talk about? Does she need to know that I'm a trafficked victim? Like, I'm just, my mind was swirling with
stuck in your head.
Yes. And like, am I sitting right? Am I making her feel like she's, got enough conversation? Am I I would be lost in those types of thoughts, people pleasing thoughts, really. And this time I just sat back and enjoyed myself. And I carried on a conversation. We laughed. I don't know if she was laughing at me or with me, but it didn't matter. We had a good time.
And you did an Instagram reel.
I did.
Um, which means you intentionally recorded your before and after. You were recording beforehand. You were like, excuse me, lady, hold on. Let me get my camera out and record myself.
No. I waited till nobody was around and then I whispered into my phone.
Okay. But I was like, that's impressive. Like, I don't necessarily selfie or vlog in public either. So that's impressive to think about it and then be intentional to make sure you get those clips. And then I feel like that, how many views did that one get?
Like 18, 19,000. I don't know, which was so funny to me. But I got a lot of encouragement afterwards. Like their comments were really kind.
Well, and I think it's just another reminder that healthy living like is like that ripple effect. Like people connect with that because who knows who is listening to that reel and was like, you know what, it's been 2 years since I got my hair cut too. And you know, you're there in a similar situation and maybe you encourage them to take action.
Oh, I hope so. It was funny because so I had that, and then I also had a dentist appointment that I made for myself, which was a super even bigger deal than the hair.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I was talking with Granny in between all that, and she said, it is so nice to see you doing normal things.
Yes.
And it's true.
Yeah. So tell us about the dentist. You survived it?
I survived. That's really the end. For a lot of trauma survivors, anything with the mouth is hard. And to be honest, I was in the middle of a flashback that had a lot to do with that type of abuse. And so it made it a lot harder. I had a phone call with Granny right before I went in, and I was in tears, and she was having to say, it's just the dentist. Everything's fine. Like, you're not going to be hurt. You know, all of those bring you back to reality thoughts. And the people there were super nice. And I thought, if I get bad, if I have a moment where I cry or whatever, I had the plan in place to say, hey, I am in a flashback. I just want you to know, like, that's what this is. I'm fine. I have PTSD, whatever I needed to say. But I didn't have to. I kept it together. And of course, it was a really short and quick dentist appointment because apparently I've taken really good care of my teeth, even though it's been 10 years since I've seen them. And I've had an eating disorder. It's really funny because they even said, whatever you're doing, you need to keep it up. Don't even want to know.
Mm-hmm.
But it worked. It worked. I survived. And now I have peace of mind that my teeth aren't rotting and I can check it off my list. And so on the way home, I made a phone call and I scheduled an appointment for my knees because my knees are really, really bad and they need to be seen. And I'd been putting that off. So,
oh, look at you.
how about them apples?
Yeah, one hair appointment and the domino effect that creates, huh?
Yes. My insurance company is going to be thrilled.
Well, but what I hear you saying too is that even though you knew the dentist could be triggering, you created a plan. So if you started feeling overwhelmed or anxious, I mean, you probably were feeling a bit of overwhelmed and anxious anyway. So number one, the plan was how to keep yourself centered and calm as much as possible. But then the second plan is if it got too overwhelming, you had a plan in place for what you could say or do to support yourself and advocate for yourself in that way. You weren't going to run and hide in a corner. You weren't just going to leave. You were going to voice what was happening and, you know, let them figure out a way to, like, maybe we reschedule or maybe we just say we're done now and we've done enough, or, you know what I mean? Like they could then be in partnership with you in what happened next.
Yeah. And I want to add this because in the past, when I've had doctor's appointments, which were for other reasons, I learned if there was something hard that I knew I needed to say, to write it down on a piece of paper and have it ready to give to the doctor. Another thing, if you are a doctor or a nurse or a dentist, anything like that, have a pad of paper and a pencil available for people who struggle to say the words. So, because I've done that before, there was a doctor who had that available. And so that's what gave me the idea. I'm going to write it down, put that sticky note next to her computer. And so when she walks in, she knows I'm struggling and here's why.
Beautiful. Having that plan in place just makes the whole experience, I would imagine, so much more at ease. Like at least you know what to do if crap hits the fan.
Right. Because there have been times I've either gone into a doctor's appointment and ended up faking, I'm fine, I'm good, everything's good, because I got too overwhelmed with sharing the truth that I wasted a whole visit not getting to the root of what I was really there for.
Well, and I hope you guys listened to last week's podcast where we interviewed Valerie. And one of the cool things I know she did was she created a plan for if she saw her perpetrator around town. And for years, it actually kept her stuck at home because she didn't want to go to the grocery store and see him. She didn't want to be at the park and see him. And so it would impact her daily activities until she created this plan. And the plan was really, if we see him, we ignore him and leave.
But simply saying it.
But just having that so then you have the plan. All right, well, if this happens, I now know what I'm going to do and I'm not going to freeze and that kind of thing. So that gave her freedom to be at the grocery store, go to the park, or do the things because she had a plan in place.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She would reroute her entire day to avoid that particular grocery store. And now she can be bold and say, if I see him, he's not going to affect me because I have this plan.
Yeah. Yeah. So big congratulations on self-care.
Thanks.
It's a big deal. And if you are listening and you're like, okay, yes, use this as your loving reminder to schedule whatever appointment has been on your list for a while. And
I had a survivor from our group. She contacted me this week and said, I just went shopping and bought myself an adult outfit.
Oh,
which is a big deal. Not like a adult rated or anything. I just mean like
I was a little bit like, tell me more.
No, like hold on.
Describe what she was wearing before versus
No. Okay, so you know how we go 9? Well, we also often dress like we're 9, or we, wear a bunch of layers, or we like cover up whatever. This was her self-care of, I'm going to dress like a professional 40-some-year-old woman who loves herself. Like, that's what I meant by an adult outfit.
So like blazer or t-shirt, or like just a nice outfit. I mean, I know when you started speaking again, you were like, all right, I can't wear tennis shoes. Like I want to.
No. Granny told me.
Granny said, yeah, okay. No. You were lovingly advised to level up your wardrobe.
Yes. And I'm glad she did, because I feel better about myself.
Yeah.
But when you don't see value in yourself, you dress that way. And so sometimes you have to change your wardrobe before it changes on the inside.
Yeah. Both and, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. And that's even with your hair. Like sometimes doing your hair make you feel better.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So the next thing that you did over the last couple of weeks is, just no big deal, right? Not just one book, but she wrote a book and a workbook that we're including as part of the trauma program within Stop SIS. It's called Reflecting Ownership. So I'd love for you to share a bit about the book and then the workbook, why they need both. What is this all about?
Yeah, so we had talked for a while about a trauma program, and God had put on my heart this idea of ownership, which, if you know my story at all, ownership is a terrible word in my vocabulary. I hate it because of the trafficking and child trafficking and all that type of stuff. But God kept impressing on my heart ownership. And what I ended up realizing was there were still so many things in my life that my past owned, and that my abuser owned. I mean, he doesn't even have to be in the same state as me, but I'm still struggling as if he is, like the flashbacks or the triggers. My body was still suffering effects, my mind, my heart, my soul. And so I started to dig deeper, and, God revealed to me that every person, every child is born with 4 innate desires: to be loved, to be known, to be seen, and to be heard. And perpetrators know that. And so they will purposefully pull you in with those 4 innate desires. And typically they start with the heart. Typically they want to pull you in by, giving you loving compliments or special treatment. For me, pulling me out of class, whatever it was, to make me feel special and loved. And then they would play mind games. They would take ownership of my mind and make me question my own sanity. And then they would take ownership of my soul. They made it to where it was no longer what I wanted, what my will was. It was, how do I make him happy? And then it led to the ownership of my body and being sexually abused. But it was all a process. And it's the same when you're taking back that ownership. It's a process, and you have to see what areas are still owned and how to then take those back. And so through the book, I kind of share my own experiences. I share pieces that people have poured into me, exercises, all sorts of things that has shaped my healing journey. The things that when it was being poured into me, I didn't see a point in it, but now looking back, I see that it was all stepping stones towards where I am now. And then, so I explain it all in the book, but then in the workbook, I give you the actual steps, the space, the ability to do all of those exercises. The main 2 things that we do to take back ownership of our life is we focus on truth and knowledge, and we connect with our inner child to know our truth, to finally listen to her and give her a voice and let her feel validated. And then we focus on knowledge from God, and we will talk to him and ask him questions and see the truth about who he is, see the truth about who we are in him. And through all of that, it creates an ownership within ourselves. Like, we take back ownership.
Mic drop. Yeah. And so the book itself is basically Rachel's parts of her healing journey and her story, because we know that the reader will, number one, see themselves in her story and be able to pick apart pieces that resonate with them in their story. But it also gives you an example of what growth can look like. And then the workbook is like, all right, now it's your turn. It's your turn to go through the same process. And it could take you a month. It could take you 3 months. You can go through it as quickly or as slowly as you desire based on where you're at on your healing journey. But because you have Rachel's example in the book, my guess is the idea is that you'll be able to work through it knowing what the process is really going to be like. So it seems like you would read the book fully, and then you would do the workbook. So the reader could then have a space to write their own story, identify their own owner, whether it's a father, a teacher, a domestic violence situation, an addictive situation where somebody, you're walking on eggshells all of the time, that kind of stuff. So then the reader has their own space to go on their own healing journey.
Yeah, correct. I mean, and you can totally do it that way, or I think you could probably even read chapter 1, complete chapter 1 in the workbook. Yeah. I think that would work as well.
Okay, very cool. And we call it the trauma program because we're talking about the trauma. In 90 Day U-Turn, we really don't talk about the trauma a ton. Like, if it comes up, it comes up, but I'm not asking you, tell me your story from A to Z, The trauma program the 90 Day U-Turn is all about getting your life back, and we're retraining your brain, and we are, taking our thoughts captive and all of that kind of stuff. But we know that it's important to be honest about what's happened. And so the trauma program, Reflecting Ownership, gives you a place to just be real with yourself. be honest, kind of brain dump, or like get it out of your system. And then the idea would be somebody could move on to 90-day U-turn. So we also know that people that purchase reflecting ownership are going to be in different stages of the journey. So why don't you share a bit about the community we're creating with that?
Yeah, so I've already kind of started to set it up on Facebook. It'll be a community that's just for those who have purchased the book and who are going through the program. And you'll find the link and everything within the book. And you'll be able to see people who are maybe 3 steps ahead of you, 3 steps behind you. You'll be able to communicate with them. We'll have messages. You and I are going to plan to go live. And then we do plan to have Zooms occasionally as well, so that you feel that community of support. I do always recommend that every survivor has some sort of a support around them wherever you're at. And I think letting them know that you are going on this journey of a trauma program is important. But I also know not everybody has that, and they need that community of support. And so that's what this is meant to be, whether you just need the occasional oomph from another survivor, or if you need a more consistent support. Either way, we want to be there for you, because this is hard stuff.
Well, and what we found with 90-day U-turn is that the more healed, or the further along somebody is on their healing journey, the more apt they would be like, oh yeah, totally, camera on, let's chat, but those who hadn't quite done that work yet were like, this is a lot, like, don't make me talk to people. And don't make me have, and so what we thought is, instead of creating a group where we would ask people to jump in with both feet like that, this is an evergreen product, which means people can purchase the book on Amazon at any time. They can be added to the group at any time. They're vetted, they make sure that they bought the book and they're truly a part of the program. But because we're going to do monthly Zooms, and because we're going to go live in there, they'll get to know us and other survivors within the group. And then as the healing journey progresses, 90-day U-turn might not feel like such a jump.
Yeah. I feel like we heard a lot from people that they felt like they were spinning their wheels with their trauma. They were just going over the same things over and over again. And what I think reflecting ownership does is it pulls out areas that maybe you haven't thought of before, that are still keeping you captive, that are keeping you in that cycle of over and over again behaviors. And it's helping you recognize it, so then you can move forward with 90-day U-turn.
Well, and the exercises within the workbook give people a journey to heal. So you're not just rehashing, because again, the goal is to take it from frontal lobe, like into memory. So you're not living in the trauma all the time, which is why it's so exhausting, because it's just so front and center. But the exercises allow, to dig up, but then also move it to a proper place, so it's not owning you like it has been.
And then you have the brain space to move into 90-day U-turn and dream.
Yes.
And I get chills thinking about it.
Yes. I mean, even just like you said, you now have brain space to schedule these appointments. You have brain space to write another book. You have brain space because you're not living in, you still have flashbacks. It's not perfect, but you're not living in that fight or flight mode all day, every day.
You're not owned by it anymore.
Yeah.
It is a piece of your life. It's not your whole life.
Yeah.
It doesn't dictate your body, your mind, your heart, your soul. It's just different.
That sounds like a breath of fresh air.
It is. It so is. And I want it for everybody.
Yeah. So we did ask for feedback before we uploaded it. We had some of the survivors read through it. We've had, you've had friends and family look through it, not only for editing, but also, of course, for content. And what's some of the feedback you've gotten so far?
So one person said she was completely mind blown by this idea of ownership. She had just never thought of it that way before. And I was like, me too. I was blown away when God put it in my heart. But she said she is recognizing where she has had ownership in areas of her life now. And she's just deciding from now on, Jesus is going to be the only person who has ownership of my life. Like, I am done playing these games. And I was like, yes, this is it. Like, that's what I want. I want the book to point people to him. That's the whole purpose of it. And so I was pleased to hear that. I've also heard that it's hard, that it's painful, and it is. It's not going to just sugarcoat things. It is going to make you recognize areas that need work, but it also is hopeful. Like, yes, it's hard, but there's hope because it's going to walk you through it. You're not alone. You actually see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I mean, you know that this hard is going to create health.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if it were easy, you guys, you would have already done it. So the reason why we don't do the trauma work is because it is hard. But because you have a community of people that are doing it together, you're not the only one, then the idea is that you'll have strength and accountability that maybe you haven't had in the past.
Yeah, because I mean, the moment will come when you feel weak and you feel like you can't do this anymore. And that's when the support of the community comes into play. And we say, no, we got you. Like, it's okay to have a bad week. It's okay to have a bad day.
Yeah. So please, if you're in a spot where you're like, I've had some hard stuff happen and I have not really worked through it yet, and you know that typically because you'll still be utilizing these negative coping skills. You're still over busy. You're still living in the eating disorder. You're still avoiding or overcompensating through addiction or other things, right? Those are typical signs that you haven't quite healed yet, right? You haven't quite done that work. So go ahead.
Maybe like, let's say you go into a situation and you just feel like your chest close up or your anxiety start, but you really don't know why. That's your body having ownership to something else. That's your body reacting. And this is a chance for you to figure out why. It doesn't have to even be extreme trauma to have ownership. I mean, I think everybody has it to some degree, and just being able to have a space to recognize it.
Yeah, I would consider that physical response like a triggered situation, right? Where you feel triggered either emotionally or physically. And if that's happening frequently, again, that's another clue that there certainly is something to work through.
Yeah.
We have the books available, the book and the workbook available on Amazon right now at a discount. However, it will only be discounted for 1 week. And then we're going to have to put it back to its normal price of, I believe they're both $21. Is that it?
Yeah.
So they're both going to be $21 a piece. Right now we have them at the lowest price possible. Amazon doesn't let you do them for 99 cents. But I think it's like $12 each or something. And so we want you guys who are listening, we want all of you who are interested to purchase them right now and be a part of the group and just be a part of giving us feedback and getting to know everyone and that kind of stuff. So if you're interested, I would say purchase them now, because next week they will go back up to their regularly scheduled pricing.
Yes.
All right. So last but not least, I'm sure everyone's like, okay, tell us about the justice part. But Rachel has some more updates, some recent updates on her pursuit for justice for her particular situation and case. So why don't you tell everyone what's happening?
Yeah. So for probably a year and a half, I've actually been working on this, and it's not been something that I've been able to announce to the world, and it's a process. But after working with a lawyer and digging into the law and figuring things out, my statute of limitations are not over. And with that being said, we have pursued a civil suit against 3 perpetrators from my past, as well as the school that turned a blind eye, not just saw things and did nothing. And so the case is open. It started, and I don't know, it feels surreal. It feels at times scary. I've gone back and forth on do I just let this go, or do I continue to push forward seeking justice? Because it's almost traumatizing to pursue justice because it's hard. You go through a lot. But at the end of the day, I know that there's kids around them, around these perpetrators. There's kids who still aren't being believed. There's other survivors, just like me, who still haven't been able to share their story and maybe don't have a granny in their life who will sit and listen and believe. And so for them, I had to say yes. I wanted to say yes. And so it's a God thing, the way that it's worked out. I'm just beyond amazed at how he's orchestrated all of this, the way he's moved mountains, how it all came about. It's God, and it's only God. And I'm ready for the battle. And yeah, this is news that I never thought I would get to say.
It's been a holy discontent for you since I met you. Was this burning inside that was like, this cannot be. And there are other little kids who are experiencing similar situations as to what you did. And your driving force has always been to protect them.
Yes, exactly. And, there's been too many years gone by where I know he has still hurt children and I haven't been able to do anything. But this option, I hope will bring safety to others.
So yeah, we'll have more information as time goes on. We'll let you know what we're allowed to let you know.
Yes, that's what's so hard.
But there are going to be some like press releases that we'll be able to share and things that you could then potentially share as well, just to get the word out. And, one step at a time. And I think that's the only thing we can control. And oftentimes when we think of the whole big picture, it feels so overwhelming. And it feels like, how can I even go down this road? Because it's so heavy and they're going to ask me all these questions, or, it's hard, but we're not there yet. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So focusing on one step at a time and what's right in front of you is the only way to do it, because we can't carry all of the what ifs on our shoulders, especially when they're not happening right now.
Yeah, God gives you strength for today, not a month from now. He's not giving you the strength for today for a month from now, only today. So don't add on the worries of a month from now. Easier said than done. But if I can keep my focus on him and the tasks at hand, I have a peace. So
peace that surpasses all understanding.
Like nothing I've ever experienced.
Well, congratulations, for getting your hair done, writing a book, and, filing a lawsuit.
Yeah.
No big deal. Just another Saturday around here.
Yeah, insane.
Well, and we want to say thank you to all of you for your love and support on this journey. Having a place for Rachel to share her experiences and get feedback from you is like what it's all about. And so Instagram, go check out Instagram. She's consistently posting reels. We have a Facebook page as well, but then absolutely purchase Reflecting Ownership. It is on sale now for the next week, and we'd love for you to get your hands on it and be one of the first cohorts to go through the book. But then also share it with anybody that is in a dark spot, that needs support in going through their healing journey. There's no requirement to turn on your Zoom camera. So please know that this is a safe place where you can just watch and listen, or certainly share and be a part of the community.
Yeah, I'm so excited, guys. Thank you for the encouragement and support. It just blows my mind.
I'm looking for my book so I can do an I declare.
Yes.
All right. I don't see it. I always have it right next to me. So I'm going to end with an I declare, because I think when you end a discussion about lawsuits, we need to bring it up a notch again. Okay. Can you please say a number between 1 and 31.
7.
7. So if you look up I declare on Google, you can pull them all up. Oh my gosh. Look at what day 7 is. Are you ready? I declare that God has a great plan for my life. He is directing my steps. And even though I may not always understand how, I know my situation is not a surprise to God. He works out every detail to my advantage. In his perfect timing, everything will turn out right. That is my declaration. That is my declaration for you. Have an awesome day, you guys, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to this powerful episode of Stop Suffering in Silence. If you are interested in booking Rachel to speak at your school, your church, or on your podcast, then please email OpenBlindEyes@protonmail.com. If you are interested in sponsoring a survivor on their healing journey and would like to donate to Stop SIS, then please check out the link in the description box or show notes below, or you can email STOPSIS@protonmail.com. And finally, if you are currently suffering in silence, or you know somebody who is, whether they're dealing with a current trauma or one from the past, then we will always recommend that you reach out to your local resources and find a counselor that you can trust, because nobody is meant to suffer alone. Have an amazing week, and thank you for being here.